This Luka Doncic special episode of the Managing Madrid podcast is brought to you by Hilton Charlotte Uptown Hotel, which is linked to the Charlotte Convention Center via an outdoor pedestrian walkway. Discover motoring history at the NASCAR Hall of Fame 3 blocks away, and take in big events at Bank of America Stadium, Trust Field, and Spectrum Center, all under a mile from the door. Perks include free access to the connected YMCA. Listeners, when you're in Charlotte for Real Madrid's preseason tour this summer, make sure to book your stay at Hilton Charlotte Uptown Hotel, also very close to the stadium, to check out the game. Stay at a great spot right in the heart of the city. Book your stay at Hilton Charlotte Uptown. Let's get to tonight's special Luka Doncic episode. Let's go.
Nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there. And worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest, and the numbers reveal why.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First-rate podcast as well. Of course, Pere Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
Welcome, guys. This is Kiyan Sobani. It is 10:40 p.m. EST on Thursday night. We're doing something a little bit different today. I warned you guys on Discord, and I warned you guys on YouTube, and I told you guys, look, I know a lot of you guys are going to hate this, but we're doing this new thing. We're trying it out because we all love the NBA, and by all, I mean most of us on the Managing Madrid podcast hosting it. And there's a lot of listeners who like the NBA, and we love Luka Doncic, and this is a perfect link. We can link basketball to the podcast because Luka Doncic is the greatest Real Madrid basketball player of all time, and he is in the NBA Finals. So we're going to react to every single one of these games in the finals. And I was overwhelmingly surprised, pleasantly surprised by the response. A lot of people were like, fuck yeah, we're going to do this. Let's do it. We're very excited. Thank you for doing this for us. We are big basketball fans, and I told you guys, if you don't like it, it's going to be clearly labeled in the title. You can just press skip. No big deal, no hard feelings. But if you're here, it means you clicked on the title knowing what was in store for you. So welcome. Siddharth Ramsundar is here with me. Sid is up at a different kind of time of day. He's in India right now. What time is it, Sid?
It's 8:10 a.m. in the morning. I got up at 5:30. I got up a couple times. I was just excited for the game. And yeah, it's 8:10. The game's almost over here. It's a good time. It's a good time because I'm not like too sleepy after the game. What do you think of that game, Kiyan? I mean, I guess let's just get started. I mean, I don't even want to talk about what time it is here. That game was crazy. This finals. This was a very hyped finals going into it. And I'm glad we could segue this into Real Madrid for sure because and in more ways than one, because you have Luka Doncic, obviously EuroLeague MVP at 18 with Real Madrid before he goes to Dallas. You also have like Pep Guardiola showing up at the game. It's just pissing me off. I want to beat him even more now. And it just feels like an extension of our rivalry. Like the Celtics talked about all season. They've talked about how they want to play a smarter offense because they've ran an offense the last couple of years where they do silly things. And we'll talk more about that in fundamental terms soon. But Pep and Joe Mazzulla, the head coach, he talked about in February how he's taken inspiration from Guardiola's teams, the way they control time and space, the way they like constantly execute only high probability actions, like actions that have high expected value, you could say, where they don't take risks that are needless. And so you have this little like Pep versus Luka Doncic thing almost in the finals. And, we took the first blow, but I'm glad we get to talk about it. Do you want to react to the game, or do you want to talk a little more about like the context going into this matchup for fans first?
Just, I guess, also for context for people listening to this after the fact, I think there's like 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The score is or was 100-75, something of that sort. We were looking at a comeback in the third quarter, but it came to an abrupt end after the Celtics just took over again. Why don't you give us some context heading into the finals? I'm curious to know what your assessment was.
Yeah, so I guess like just Doncic for like the more casual fans maybe tuning in for the first time. He EuroLeague MVP at 18, the NBA, he was the third pick in the 2018 NBA draft, where every team you get to pick like a player from the world who plays for you. And like it's like not like you just sign anyone you want like in soccer. You draft players. So every year, like it's pretty fixed. Like you don't get to just go and like if there's a great player, if a team has a higher draft pick, they get him before you. And the draft is what pays the most money, as opposed to if you sign for a free agent. And Doncic went third when a lot of people knew he should have went first. Like 18-year-old who's the best player in Europe, no brainer, like going to be a superstar in the NBA. Because we've seen other great European players like Arvidas Sabonis from the EuroLeague dominate at older ages. So we know it's possible. And Doncic just got better every year. But this is the first year. Like last year, they added Kyrie Irving. This year, they had a bunch of role players get to the finals. And they had the best record in the league after the trade deadline once they added these role players. They have a rookie, Derek Lively, a 7'1" center who can block shots and he can like play make on the short roll. Like he can make quick swing passes to the corners if they've doubled Luka. And, you know, they come into the finals with a pretty good team. Like Luka is like a chess master. He plays a lot like LeBron James, in my opinion. What do you want to say about Luka before we talk about Boston? Like, he's like a mix of James Harden, LeBron James, maybe a little Larry Bird, but more James Harden and LeBron James. What do you think?
He's got the James Harden pudginess along with Larry Bird's whiteness, and in a way, kind of this kind of weird player that we haven't really seen before. I think he could play in any era. And I think I was talking to you about this. Like, I can't really decide whether or not he would be better if he got Jack, or his body is literally part of the reason why he's so good. I can't really put my finger on it. I still think that he could get in better shape and become better than he already is. But I don't know, like heading into this series, I was thinking about all the previous matchups that the Celtics and Mavs had, but particularly the Mavs. With the Celtics, you know, their criticism was, well, they went through the Pacers without Halliburton. They went through the Cavs without Mitchell. Of course, you know, Kristaps Porziņģis wasn't playing either, to be fair. And you saw how important he was tonight. We'll get to that. But with the Mavs, I feel like heading into this, I wasn't sure if Boston are the clear favorites or this is maybe a little bit closer than some people made it out to be. But I looked at the starting lineups and I was like, I don't know if Dallas has enough. I really don't. Like, if Boston has everyone healthy, the firepower is so much more. You go back to the Wolves-Mavs series, and the Wolves didn't have anything because Towns laid an egg and Edwards wasn't playing. And if Edwards is not scoring, like, they didn't really have anyone stepping up in that situation. Boston has way more room for error. You know, if Tatum isn't hot, Jaylen Brown can get hot. Kristaps, Middleton, they just have so many options. Like,
well, they have the best roster in the NBA, no doubt. That was never the question going into the series, I think. And like, I mean, both these teams they played Golden State 2 years ago in the conference. Dallas in the conference finals lost in 5, Boston in 6.
I said Middleton, by the way. I meant Drew Holiday. I always get them mixed up.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so both these teams are way better than the versions that lost to Golden State. But obviously Dallas is like, they weren't expected to be here. Boston have steadily like worked on their team since 2 years ago. Last year, they weren't good. Obviously, Boston was the better team. They had the best record in the NBA. They had a top 10 point differential in NBA history. And it's funny though, the other team, another team that had a top 10 point differential in NBA history did lose in 2016, the 2016 Cavs. I believe that 1 or 2 of the top 10 differentials have lost. And Boston, it was a question of, are they one of the juggernauts or are they going to lose? And I mean, Kristaps coming back, it was always going to be hard. My bet with Dallas, and we didn't see this in game 1, was they just mucked up the offenses we saw in the first 2 rounds. And they weren't 5-out like offenses where every player could shoot, so you can't help in the paint. But OKC, I know Chet Holmgren is no Kristaps Porziņģis, and we're seeing that now because he's a center who can shoot. And I thought they did a great job shutting down OKC's offense. But the problem was that Chet Holmgren's release is slow. So and obviously OKC are a younger team. Like Jaylen Brown is better than Jalen Williams. Jason Tatum is more seasoned, you could argue, than Shea. But like Dallas was pretty much giving up the jumper to all these teams. And now we saw Kristaps, like, not only does he shoot 2 feet beyond the arc, whereas Chet shoots at the arc, he releases it like that, whereas Chet is a slow release. So all the worst case, I feel like we saw, like people were predicting into the series, we saw all the worst case scenarios for Dallas this game. Like the 5-out, the way they can just hunt threes, the math battle, they hunt threes faster. And then the way they can change coverage on Luka and like slow you down for a quarter. And then Derek White playing like prime Klay Thompson. Yeah, we saw all the worst case scenarios. And I mean, tactically, like, you know, I just think it's interesting that they were down 29 and cut it to 8 at one point. We saw some things they could do there. And Kyrie missed like 3 wide open jumpers this game. Like,
Yeah.
I thought we saw enough, but we also, when they were down 29, there was like the vibe of like, this isn't even a matchup. I still think this series doesn't go less than 6. I thought we saw enough this game, but game 1 definitely reinforced that like Luka's team is not nearly as ready as Boston's.
There was a point in one of those Kyrie jumpers that he missed that I think you're alluding to. One of them would have cut the lead down to, it was definitely in our single digits. I don't know.
5. It would have been 5.
So it must, yeah. So it was an 8-point lead at that time. It would have cut it to 5. And you could feel like the juice was getting sucked out of the building. There were, because you know Boston too, in this era, with this crop of players, this core, this nucleus, they do have a bit of choking to them, right? Fair or unfair, like you could see when Dallas is coming back from this huge deficit, that you could kind of talk yourself into Boston kind of just choking it away a little bit, which would have been great because I believe in the Real Madrid DNA, the remontada. I don't like that would have been one crazy ass remontada if Luka Doncic pulled that off. But look at it, like you can see it in the box score. Like now, granted, I don't think Kyrie is gonna score 12 points a game, which is what he was at tonight. But Doncic scored 30, and you know the game. There's still like how many? There's still 2 minutes left in the game. I don't know. I think Doncic is still in the game, but I don't know. I'm not really keeping an eye on it. Maybe it's garbage time now. Either way, he has 30 points, and no one really sucked up scoring outside of that. Meanwhile, look at Boston's box score. Tatum 16, Brown 22, Derek White 15, Drew Holiday 12, Porziņģis 20, Horford 10. None of them had one absolute superstar game. They just all contributed. Like that's the difference. They're just so deep, and if everyone's healthy, I don't really know. I'm sure Dallas will have their runs. They'll have their I'm sure when they go back to Dallas, they'll have some crazy momentum. They'll have their moments. I just don't know if they have enough. Boston is just a different beast.
Well, that's the thing.
Wolves.
So they have a top 10 differential, and there's some people who like they're spaced even better than the KD Warriors with Curry because Draymond didn't shoot on that team. This team, like literally everyone in the rotation shoots. Iguodala wasn't the best shooter on that team. This team, everyone can shoot. And so, yeah, they are the most stacked team. It's scary. Jason Tatum can play like their jokes. He can play like, you know, KCP. Like he can play like OG Anunoby on offense. I don't know. Who else should I make fun of on the Raptors? But he can play like a role player, you know. He can play like playoff DeMar DeRozan, and it won't matter. Like he can play a bad game. Long story short, he can play a bad game. They win easily. He doesn't even have to do much. He literally just has to like wait till they get a mismatch and drive. And what they're so good at is like, since everyone on the team can attack, everyone can get a mismatch. And we saw that today. Now, the thing is, in previous seasons, Boston had a similar dynamic. No Kristaps. The way Golden State beat them or the way Miami beat them is by essentially like doubling in timely ways and forcing their scorers to become playmakers. And that's where I find Boston so interesting because most great NBA teams in history have that 3-level scorer or that dual threat who is also a playmaker, a scoring threat who can pass. It's very rare a team wins without a high-level point guard. So let's just go through the last few years. Like last year, Jokic is one of the best ever. Doncic is one of the best ever. LeBron made all these finals, one of the best ever. The Warriors, Curry's not a point guard, but Draymond and Curry's playmaking together, ridiculous. We take it back to Milwaukee. Giannis was a good playmaker in that finals. That was a weaker finals, I would say. Then you go to 2019. Yes, Kawhi won, but those Spurs and that Raptors team, like you had Kyle Lowry on that team, but even on the Spurs, they had a very good system for you need a system where you can pass the ball out and that your best scorers don't take shots into doubles when the help comes late. Because teams don't always send help easy. They send help late in basketball. And that's where this whole Guardiola thing comes in and Mazzulla, because Boston have a system where they read and react really fast, and they're not asking Tatum or Brown to make tough reads. They just get them on mismatches. They expect the doubles, and they just keep swing. And my hope for the series was that Dallas would muck up the Boston offense just enough. And then in crunch time, I figured Luka, essentially, if you have like 10 possessions in a row in crunch time, I figured Dallas could double, get Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to hesitate just enough where maybe they make that swing out pass late. And on the other end, I figured Luka will pretty much play like a chess master wizard. And we saw Denver actually beat Boston 2 games this series. And down the stretch, Jokic essentially did this. And this is a lot like we saw LeBron versus the Warriors over the years, where one team is deep, they're stacked. Curry is better than anyone on Boston, I think. But that team had a similar dynamic where they're stacked like 1 through 7. And the way to win was to slow the game down, muck up the offense. It's a lot like that. The difference is, I don't know, LeBron was such an athletic beast. And I just like Luka, I don't know. It's the defense isn't as good, I guess. I feel like LeBron made up for a lot defensively. And also this Boston team is stacked. Like there are a lot of LeBron teams that would have lost to this Boston, even if he controlled the pace. I hate to admit it, but they are one of the best teams ever. I hate them. I hate like how Pep is there, like smiling and like fucking talking tactics.
Best team, one of the best teams ever is a stretch. Let them win
they
it.
They have a top 10 point differential in the history of the NBA, and they won 63. Like they walked through the.
I need to see the ring. I need to see the ring, Sid. I need to see the ring.
For sure. I'm just saying, like, after this game, they might sweep or win in 5. I'm not saying they will. The NBA is going to try and extend the series. I just mean, like, on paper, they are. I'll put it this way. They may not end up being one of the best, but there's no doubt they're one of the most talented teams ever. Very few teams are, like, have Drew Holiday as their 5th best player, have Al Horford as their 6th best player. That's really rare.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're deep, and they have a lot of different ways to hurt you. Like, I think Dallas needs to adjust one thing here, and I mean, they need to adjust multiple things. But one thing that stood out to me in that first quarter, and really second quarter too, they were just trying so hard to put pressure on Tatum and try to take the game away from him. And that left everyone open. Like, I think this team is too good and too deep and too good to just move at moving the ball around for you to just double and triple one guy and leave everyone else open. The Porziņģis thing was actually just a crazy swing in the series, in my opinion, that he came back. What was the score when he came in? Granted, it was only a few minutes into the game, but it didn't.
It was like a 1-point game.
Yeah, it wasn't slipping away or anything. He came in. I lost track. I wrote a bunch of it down, and I was like, I'm not writing this down anymore. This is just ridiculous. Immediately, you could see his rim protection, and here it is. I'll just dig at my notes. So layup, or like one of the first plays when he comes in on defense, Derek Jr. is underneath the rim for a layup and is completely thrown off by Porzingis' presence there and just throws it in the air. And then the ball goes the other way. Porzingis gets switched on to Jaden Hardy, shoots over him so easily. Dallas, I was like, do they have any answers to this right now? I don't know if they do. He goes back and has a bunch of great rim protection sequences. Rinse and repeat on offense when you're just shooting over people who have no business getting even close to him. Did you see that block? One block was absolutely filthy. I can't remember what exact sequence it was, but it was a disgusting block. Like, it was like towards the end of like the first quarter.
Derek Jones was running down in transition.
Yes. And then by the end of it, he's just like you were speaking about it earlier, how fast his releases on the 3-pointers. There was one pretty deep, and he just winks at Luka after he makes it. He was a huge problem. They like that guy. If he didn't come back tonight, you could talk yourself into like this is even enough at least. I mean, I don't know. I think with him, it's just if he stays healthy, they just got too much. They got too many players who can score, and they're a good defensive team. Luka needs more from Kyrie offensively, and they basically both of them need to have perfect games 4 times for this to happen.
Yeah, Luka needs more from Kyrie, and then I agree. There was a possession in the first quarter, and like Derek Lively got isolated onto Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum took it to the rim, swung it out to White for an open three, and I'm like, wait, Lively shifted his feet the whole possession. Why would you send any help on Lively against Tatum? I would let Lively stay on an island against Tatum, have him press up on the 3, and then chase back for the 2. Maybe send one guy, but they sent 2. They collapsed the paint, and I think it's like a big culture shock thing because Dallas pretty much lived with outside shooters in all the previous series. They just lived with it, and none of them could shoot as well. I think it is a big element of the culture shock thing in that when they were down 8, it feel like they got a foothold on the game. But the other flip side is they only came back to be down 8 when Al Horford was on the floor. Kristaps was on the bench for a lot of it, not the whole part, but he was on the bench for the first half of the run. And that is a big worry. Now, the reason I think Kristaps was attacked so much is because, like, this might sound dirty, but I think they're just trying to see if he's actually 100%.
Yeah, I would have done the same thing too. I mean, you have to test him out.
And not only that, like, maybe even see, like, if you can wear him down and kind of get him, like, just keeps, like, you can, like, protecting them is hard, man. You jump at a guy at the rim, you can only take so many falls before you're not moving the same. And, yeah, I mean, honestly, it was funny to see that was what we're trying to do. Jaden Hardy dribbling at him. It was such an explicit instruction, like, keep going at him. And I think there are some things they clean up, though. Kyrie cleans up a few things. They play a little bit better. They get closer. It's just then Boston still has more they can go to. They have more they can adjust. This was just their game 1 where they're trying to blow you out. Hey, I mean, if Luka doesn't win, it is what it is. It would be sad to see Pep like smiling with Boston Celtics. But yeah, it's tough, man. Like they'll be back, Dallas, like in future playoffs too. Like Derek Lively's working on a shot. He's a rookie. Like they've only had this team together for a few months. It's very conceivable they go get stronger in the offseason, come back next year. And also, it's very conceivable they take game 2. It's just like we're at a weird point in the series early. Like they could take game 2 and lose in 5. They could take game 3 and lose in 5. We don't know if they're going to extend it. And that's the weird part right now. Like I'm really like before the game, I was convinced it would be 6 or 7. And that's the thing. I guess I shouldn't get so down on them because the main hope for me is I've seen LeBron lose game 1s for so many years, Keon. The famous feel-out game. Obviously, we never lost to Toronto. That was never in question, which is funny. Like the feel-out games never led to losses against you guys. You remember that one in 2018 that the Cavs felt out and we still won like in overtime? Like Toronto missed like 3 tip-ins at the buzzer and you guys lost?
That was the one where Cavs went up 2-0, and then we came back and tied the series 2-2 in Toronto.
No, 2018 when LeBron didn't have any help, and you guys had like your best team with your depth, and you guys like missed 3 tip-ins to win game 1.
Well, let's be clear. Our best team was 2019, which is actually the greatest team in NBA history.
Well, yeah. I just mean your best team in the LeBron years, the 55 or 58 win Raptors, the famous bench mob with Fred VanVleet. Everyone hyped them up all year. The Cavs were
That's weak. who I nicknamed Camavinga and Rodrigo after the bench mob. Was they were named after the 2017 Raptors, I think it was.
Yeah, the 18. It was the 18. I just remember because like that year, I couldn't believe they got swept. And yeah, LeBron has felt out a lot of games. There were feel-out game vibes from Dallas. Like when they cut it down to 8, it wasn't like that. But like the first, like that second quarter when they were just ISOing, like running at guys, it felt like they were just trying to feel out, can we play our own way or do we got to play more controlled? And the answer was very clear. And I mean, I really was reminiscing on like 2016. LeBron went down, like he got blown out the first 2 games, him and Kyrie. Obviously, Boston this year might be a better team than that team because that team had Curry injured. I would argue this team healthy is stronger, but they got blown out the first 2 games. Kyrie wasn't playing too great. LeBron wasn't playing too great. Obviously, Luka played well today. But they had answers, And if Porziņģis gets hobbled later this series, maybe we see something like that. If anything, obviously, I don't root for him to get hobbled. It's the finals, and Porziņģis has a history of getting hobbled, niggles here and there. So that's the only reason I bring it up. He has that history. Derek Lively has played more playoff games this season than Porziņģis' whole career, actually. So, and he played in Dallas. He played this year. He got hurt. So we've seen that. What do you think as far as you think like I guess that's the best path. But you think the NBA can always come into Keon, as you know. They can bring Scott Foster in. They're gonna call those fouls, take it to 6.
You know,
think this goes
Pep's
6?
gonna write a check too. If the NBA intervenes too much, Pep is gonna ask his boss for a check to be like, "Hey guys, let's close the series in 4, actually, if you can."
You think it'll be like 2011? He'll get someone sent off, like he'll go back to his 2010, 2011 days.
There's nothing off the table here with Pep in attendance. There's definitely some shady shit going on. The good thing about Dallas is, like, I don't think they can shoot this poorly again, can they? Luka was 4 of 11 from 3. Kyrie was 0 for 5. The only other person on the Dallas Mavericks who made a 3 tonight was Derrick Jones Jr. at 1. No other Mav made a 3. Meanwhile, you look at Boston. Tatum 3 of 6. Derek White 3 of 8. I mean, I don't know why Derek White felt like he was actually 100 of 100 at one point, but he was actually only 3 of 8. Let me know. Take your best guess, unless you've seen the stat, and that would kind of ruin it. But when obviously the Mavs lost quarter 1 and 2, they go on their run in the third quarter. How much do you think they won that quarter by?
Well, they didn't win that quarter because I remember Boston went on a 14-2 run after, so they didn't win that quarter, right? They lost by 1, or it was neutral.
They won it by 1. It just felt like because they were coming back and they cut it down to 8, it felt like it was a big win in that quarter, but it actually wasn't, because what would you say, like midway through the third quarter, Boston just put their foot down?
Yeah, and that's what's so much better about this Boston than previous years. They used to have Marcus Smart. I used to root for them 2022 when they reached the finals. I was rooting for them against Golden State. I really wanted them to get that ring, and like Marcus Smart would make some bad decisions. Tatum would end up being forced into doubles where he'd do something stupid. Now, like the last 2 minutes of quarters, they're locked in. As soon as they were down 8, Mazzulla called a timeout. They played hard. Doncic went to the bench. Kyrie missed a few shots, fine. But they're so locked in. Like the last 2 minutes of the first half, same thing. Like those, and LeBron was talking about this on his Mind the Game pod. Like those are when games are won and lost. And Kyrie and Luka are really good at managing those moments. Again, that's why I thought they had a good chance, but really well played. Derrick Jones and PJ didn't look ready to shoot. And Maxey, there were moments like Kleber had like 10 feet up top of the key and he just like didn't shoot. PJ like gets it. And in contrast, you have Derek White, looks like Klay Thompson. He's not even like waiting to release it. They're so fast with their releases. That's what's scary about this team, because they really figured out that if you just release it fast and don't just have shooters everywhere, but fast release, the closeouts are harder. You're way more scared of the 3, but you can't just give up the paint, because the paint is the highest value place in basketball. So I think, though, PJ Washington, Derrick Jones Jr., and Maxi Kleber need to come ready to shoot. Not like people say they didn't shoot well. I thought Kyrie didn't shoot well. I thought those guys didn't look ready to shoot. Like PJ maybe didn't shoot well, unlucky, but like shooting variance. But Derrick Jones needs to be ready. They just got to go put up 100. Like they got to put up 500 threes before every game. May not be enough, but it is what it is. I'm a little annoyed that Kristaps, because for context, one of Boston's key players, the guy we're talking about, Porziņģis, if you don't know, fans, he played with Luka Doncic a few years ago, and he didn't play well. I don't know if you know Keon, but he admitted that like he got to the point where he just refused to like play. Like he would stand and sulk in the corner on purpose. He would purposely not like play the way they wanted him to. His post game was inefficient. Going back to New York, this was known. Like he was like the stereotypical analytics meme where like he was a post up player who never was efficient enough to actually post up consistently. None of them went in. And so the contrast today to see him just drill, like this would have been so perfect with Luka, like having this exact skill set, and to see him drill everything. Like, I mean, imagine if him just think about, I know it wouldn't have fit with Jalen Brunson, but to think Jalen Brunson, Luka Doncic, and Kristaps Porziņģis played on the same fucking team, man. How do you think about it's so impressive they got to the finals, even though like those guys didn't work out. It's like, and same for Boston, where like Marcus Smart didn't work out. They got Drew, they revived Kristaps. Like these are two teams that have built the right way, but also like, you know, Boston had Kyrie and they didn't keep him. They had Gordon Hayward. They had Kemba Walker. 2021, they lost to Brooklyn in 5. And it's just cool to see like these teams like like Kyrie finding his best, Kristaps finding his best, but also it pisses me off to see Kristaps do this somewhere other than Dallas.
If I'm a Mavs fan, I'm extra hurt by the Porzingis performance tonight. That like you had this guy on your team and you just couldn't make it work. But I don't really know if they can actually blame themselves for that when Porzingis himself has come out and admitted certain things, like, you know, whatever he's decided to buy in now with Mazzulla works. I remember going back all the way to when New York traded him. It was widely seen, like the consensus was it was a classic New York disaster class trade. Like, this is the classic James Dolan has no idea what he's doing. You just traded away unicorn. Then you fast forward, it's like, okay, well, it wasn't that bad in hindsight because Porzingis just is not the same anymore. But then you see the resurgence in Boston, and he looks great. And I guess, yeah, I'm just kind of frustrated if I'm a Mavs fan. But I don't know if the Porzingis one, they can really blame themselves if Porzingis had that attitude. The one they can obviously blame themselves for is not paying Brunson, which seems like a horrible mistake now. But I don't know. Maybe that means they don't get Kyrie. I don't know.
So the Brunson thing, I don't think it's a horrible mistake for two reasons. One, Brunson was phenomenal in that postseason. If you remember, Luka got hurt against Utah. He took a game off Utah on his own. Like Luka was hurt in the first round. Luka comes back. They take out Phoenix. But he kept them alive against Utah, which was very impressive. And that's when I realized, like, this is no bum. Like, Jalen Brunson's a super, like, he can be a star, not a superstar. But, I mean, listen, nobody knew he was going to be this good. I don't know if you remember, but when New York signed Jalen Brunson, there were accusations of nepotism towards Leon Rose, the president. They're like, why are they going for this guy and platforming him? Like, what is Jalen Brunson was the question when they have all these other guys, like maybe your favorite RJ Barrett and people like that. But basically, Jalen Brunson and look at his contract. He's on a 4-year, $27 million deal. It's the best deal in the NBA. It's not a max deal. It's half of a max contract. So I think that's just credit to New York. I think that Dallas didn't know. Nobody else in the NBA thought to offer Jalen Brunson more. So just credit to New York for seeing the value. Like, nobody thought he was a number one option capable player for even maybe not a ring winner, but he can clearly reach the finals on his own team, like as a clear number one option, I think. With Kyrie, I think the other part of this is that do you think Jalen Brunson plays so well next to Luka? Like, we see this in soccer. Like, Vinicius plays so well next to our players because he runs off the ball. Ronaldo was so good when he started moving off the ball. If you want to come to the ball all the time, you don't play as well with other like ball dominant players. And Kyrie is the king of like the 1-2 dribble. Like, he played off LeBron. That's why I think it's a better fit for Kyrie. And I think New York's a better fit for Brunson. I don't think Kyrie, like, Brunson's not the guy where Luka like commands a double, kicks it out, defense closes out, 1-2 dribble, like pull up jumper. No. Kyrie, though, devastating one dribble pull up, devastating true dribble pull up, like 6-7 seconds on the clock, really effective. And Brunson needs that like 15 seconds like Luka. What do you think about that?
I think that's a fair argument for sure. I think Kyrie has proven himself to be able to play off the ball a little bit, but I don't know. I sometimes get surprised a little bit about ball dominant players joining each other and it kind of works. Like, I think the Clippers look better than I thought they were going to work. I think when even Brooklyn, when Kyrie, KD, and Harden were all there, like it was very rare they were together and healthy. They just basically picked teams apart. So there's part of me that actually would have been curious to see what it would have looked like if they had all three. Certainly, like, they would have had more firepower. And I don't think Brunson would have turned into what he is now because he wouldn't be as ball dominant as he is now.
I think in those cases, and the Clippers and Brooklyn are poor, like not poor, I would just say not the same comparison in the sense that I think Brunson is like a Harden and Luka, and those are the same archetype. Kyrie, KD, Kawhi, Paul George can all play off that type. And I think like there's the heliocentric archetype where you need more time in the shot clock. Harden needs and is effective with more time in the shot clock. And he creates that first advantage. And I think Kyrie doesn't need as long to create the first advantage. Kawhi, Paul George, they don't do well when they need long amounts of time in the shot clock to create the advantage. They're more quick players. KD as well. They're not like point guards. I would say Brunson is more of a point guard. Kyrie is like, he playmakes really well with bench units, but to me, he is a shooting guard. I guess that's what it comes down to. And Jalen Brunson is still a point guard, like a very high scoring one. But like, you have to be, if you like taking your time on the shot clock, you have to be a good playmaker. If you are able to operate quickly, you don't need to be able to pass because you just need to be able to get your bucket late in the clock. So, and I think, yeah, I mean, Brooklyn is one of the biggest what ifs. I mean, I wish like almost like Luka could be in the Harden role in Brooklyn, and I wish KD played for Dallas right now. Wouldn't that be cool?
I don't know what's going to happen to him, but what do you think the Mavs actually can do differently beyond like us saying, okay, they're not as deep as the Celtics, they don't have as much firepower. I I think Kyrie tonight was actually not bad. He was a little bit unlucky. I don't know if that's a cop out, but he's driving to the basket. He's being aggressive. He had some really nice sequences. He just couldn't finish. That's what it was. I don't think that's replicable. Like I don't think he's gonna go through that bad of a shooting night more than like I think tonight was just kind of an anomaly for him at least. Like I think he was doing the right things. I think any other night he doesn't go 0 for 5 from 3. And I don't think he's missing some of those chances.
So I think he hits those. I think where he went wrong, and like that's the crazy thing about Kyrie Irving. The block shots were bad. He like Porzingis. There was a moment when Porzingis had him in the corner. Come on, man! Like he's got a whole foot and 2 inches on you. Don't pull up from the corner. I think from the top of the key is different, and some guards hit those. We've seen Curry just like turn no matter how tall you are, he'll turn you into like barbecue chicken in the corner and shoot over you. But I thought that, and there were a couple moments when Kyrie got blocked. I thought he could be better. Like it was clear to me he wasn't 100% sure what coverage is coming. However, yes, there was also the shooting variance. So it's like a little bit of both. The shooting variance was bad. He shot some black shots, and he only had 12. He's had a couple games like this where he's just a tough shot taker. So if the shooting variance is off and he takes like maybe a couple shots he shouldn't, he is going to have a bad game. He might have another one like this in the series. It's hard to say because Derek White and Drew are so good, but I do think we saw that he's going to have to be a wild card for this to work, like LeBron said in his pod, because he's so shifty. Whereas with Luka, maybe you can still stay with him, and he uses his shiftiness to get past you, but you're never that far from him. Kyrie can create like crazy separation with some of his moves, and I agree. He should have a better game. He only averaged 16 against OKC, by the way. He averaged 16, but he turned into a playmaker because they were sending a lot of help at him that series. So we'll see how it goes. And he is more mature than when he played with LeBron for sure. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, it's not even just Kyrie too. Like if they get a better Kyrie game and a better Derek Lively game, that'll go a long way. I mean, Lively got him to foul trouble in this one. Couldn't really get going. Was a shell of himself, like relative, like to what he has been in the postseason. Only 4 boards, minus 18 in. Oh, sorry, that was Clever. Clever was minus 18 in 16 minutes. Everyone was bad apart from Luka. Like, was that fair?
I thought it's funny. Lively is so good where like he has a bad game, getting into foul trouble, like turning it over, and yet like he still was so impactful during the run. I'm so excited for him. Like he's just a rookie. This is the worst Derek Lively we're going to see in the NBA in a long time. And I think he'll play. I think this might be his worst game this series too. So I think he'll get better. But I agree. Luka played well, and that was it. PJ and Derek Jones weren't bad defensively. Like they like still give you a floor of defense that others don't. But I thought Kleber wasn't the best either. So we'll see. They should get better games from everyone. Derek White looked like Clay, but like you said, they're only 3 of 8, even though he looked like Clay. They played the math and the variance so well. They just take quick open shots.
Yeah, and the pace of the game was frenetic. Like it was fast. Like they were like from the jump, it was fast and frenetic. Luka 27 and 10. I think he would have had more assists if like because he was driving and kicking, and I think he would have had more than 1 assist on a normal night. The only one Luka gaff I remember was early in the first quarter. I think it was when he was dribbling behind his back and Jaylen Brown was pressing him, steals it from him and scores. That was like, oh, this could be a long night for Dallas. Even Luka Doncic is getting his pocket picked. That dunk from Brown was unreal. The one where he splits 2 defenders and just hammers it home. Maybe better than anything he did in the dunk contest.
Oh yeah, for sure. He wasn't good in the dunk contest. For sure, he was great, and I mean, mainly like I will say, my heart and my desire is for Dallas to win, and I said it before. I will say now, logically, I do think Boston wins the series in 6, but my heart is still there, and I mean, hey, like we've seen crazy things happen in the NBA. Like mainly, I think the path for Dallas is very much like I don't think they beat Boston if they're healthy. Someone probably needs a niggle. It needs to be like 2016 when Curry wasn't 100%, and that wore on them over the course of the series. They came back. I'm just praying for like a 2016 miracle, to be honest. I know I'm delusional. Some people had Dallas winning, but most people had Boston in 6. It's really hard to it's really hard to like logically find a way to say Dallas are going to win this one. What do you think? You think Boston in 6?
The 2016 miracle is a combination that Cleveland had the best player in the world and the Draymond suspension, right? Those were the two things, I think. And Kyrie obviously stepped up. Some parallels to that. Boston has the deeper, better team. Dallas has the best player. Kyrie's there. So what is this? Like, so basically, Mavs need to go down 3-1. Porzingis kicks someone in the balls. and then the Mavs win in 7.
Well, and also Curry had his ankle hurt, so I think Kristaps would be the more analogy for maybe someone getting hurt there. But yeah, for sure, that's exactly what's needed. More parallels, like that was also Olympics, Euro, and Copa America summer. We had just won the Champions League. I wanted a clean sweep, Kian. I was getting greedy. I want Real Madrid Champions League, Real Madrid La Liga. I want Real Madrid NBA with Luka Doncic. I want to make sure a Real Madrid player wins the Euro. I want Brazil to win the Copa America. And, whoever, if any Real Madrid player goes to the Olympics, win that one too. Team USA are going to win the Olympics. I wanted a perfect summer. And, hey, this might be the only thing that prevents a clean sweep, though. This might be the only time we lose all summer, Kian.
It's not too late. We can't overreact to game 1. We've seen stranger things happen. Dallas is not a bad team.
It's not. And this reminded me, here's what I'm saying. I can't tell if this reminds me more of 2016 game 1 or 2017 game 1. Does that make sense? That's what's hard to tell right now.
I can't remember 2017 game 1.
Well, the point is, like, in both of them, they got blown out. But in one of them, like, it was a team that had beaten them the year before. They knew the schemes better, and KD just was there, man. Like, KD was just there. You just knew there was too much talent. And a little bit of that vibe today where Kristaps was just there. Like, they went – I was shocked how early Dallas went to I thought I thought Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively would have some success just on the short roll against Luka because and I know Boston, like, they play a little different where they won't let them dominate. Like, if they trap Luka, they won't let them dunk as easily. But they went to playing a small ball lineup like in the second quarter, and I was like, damn, I didn't think they didn't go small that often. They would have more if Kleber was healthy, but they didn't go small that often in the first 2-3 rounds. Even when Kleber was around, and Maxi Kleber being their small ball 6'10" center who lets them do that. So that was very interesting. And I just mean, like, if you remember 2017 finals, man, like, it was still like Cleveland could win it. Like, there were chances and moments like 2016, but unlike 2016, it just didn't happen. Unlike 2016, like, the moments when you thought you had a chance, your heart was crushed by KD hitting the dagger, or not even that. Like, they just had too much talent on the floor, and like, runs that might have turned into chances in 2016 turned into blowouts in 2017. And I can't tell if we're gonna, which team they're facing. Kyrie was there in both. Like, I mean it. Like, if you watch those games, like, it's like watching a lot of the same things, but one team just added KD. And I think that's the case here. Unfortunately, they got one too many talents.
Not too late for a remontada. Still early. A lot can change. Anything else?
I need Florentino to come because we saw Pep supporting. I think Florentino's waiting for Dallas. I think he heard from the NBA, like, the black magic is happening for Dallas, like XYZ games. And instead of like making it like, instead of confronting Pep on the court today and like laughing at him, he decided to wait till Dallas. I'd love to see. I know Cruz is in the Euros. A lot of our guys are playing. I wonder if anyone's going to show up to just root for Luka one of these games. Maybe Florentino. I don't know. You think anyone else? Tony's playing the Euros. Once he's retired, Tony's going to be courtside for all these games.
Oh, Tony is going to be a season ticket holder at the Dallas Mavericks. Like, no question. Do you think Mark Wahlberg and Pep Guardiola talked? And if they did, what do they talk about?
I think they might have, and I think Guardiola would have told him that in The Departed, he could have used better tactics to find DiCaprio. He needed to be a better tactical in The Departed. He needed to use more. He needed to set up more decoy plays to go and sniff out DiCaprio in The Departed. And Wahlberg probably praised him and said, "I like how you brought in Haaland and went like smash mouth to win. You know, you can't go tactics all the time. Sometimes you just got to smash your way through the opposition." You probably told him, "Go sign more athletes, like, you know, swear more, like play a little more aggressive." And then, yeah. Or he might have given him advice on the Transformers movie too, you know, like how to tactically fight the Megatron. You remember the one I don't get why Guardiola's like animated though. He's like animated talking to Mazzulla, like you know,
he looks like he's giving instructions to like Kevin De Bruyne or something.
Literally. And okay, here's where I sympathize though. As I think
that's just the way he talks. Like,
well, I mean, you see how I sympathize as a deep tactical in both basketball and soccer. There's a lot of overlap. There are things you can take away from Boston from positional play. I hate to admit it. It's mainly the way positional play doesn't start the way they don't start an attack unless they're like guaranteed to have the dominoes stacked in their favor. Like positionally, they have passing options. Qualitatively, they're not dueling anyone that they can't handle. And as soon as they get to the point where it's not stacked in their favor, they pass. But that's in the low-scoring sport. In this, Boston are more decisive. But the way they play offense is they only attack advantages. They only attack Kristaps mismatches. They drive and collapse the paint and kick out. And even when they do, they set picks where like Derek White's guy, who's the smallest on the pitch, is setting screens for Tatum. They're getting a wing guard on a wing, so it's easier to go downhill. They do play in a way where they stack the deck before going at it. And it's just interesting that they do, like, he kind of used positional play to teach a team where there's no one alpha playmaker how to move the ball as a team. I respect that. And you know, basketball is always going to be more spontaneous, but he found a way to introduce structure within that. And I respect Joe Mazzulla. He's a good coach. I think last year I was a little down on him because of the way they lost, but like he's always said he wants to play 5 out with a stretch big. So yeah, that's the last thing. Like there are similarities in tactics, guys. Like Pep is there for a reason. And you know, we've taken a lot from basketball Real Madrid with our positionless lineups. Keon, wouldn't you say? Like our giant, like massive positionless lineups. Like
we've been through this, yeah. Like everyone can do a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Pep could use some of that, man. Like, get your little Akanjis out of here. Your little Grealishes who can't like actually dribble because you don't let them. Haaland can't dribble. Pep needs to take a leaf out of our book.
Do you think if Pep coached Kristaps Porziņģis tonight, Porziņģis would have to just pass it backwards instead of shooting over? Instead of shooting over the smaller guy, he'd be like just passing it backwards, pretending to shoot, and then just passing it backwards. I think that's what would happen.
Well, there were jokes that like a lot of people were joking when I said we have to beat Pep. There were jokes on my Twitter. And I respect you, all you followers who like get the context enough to joke, because this is like niche, almost esoteric at this point. But like they were saying Boston's gonna pass the ball around the perimeter without any dribble penetration and wait till the shot clock runs out.
Yeah, classic.
Okay, I know, and I know I would love to joke, guys, but unfortunately, like as we see now, Mazzulla took the good elements that make sense, applied them in a way that makes sense to basketball. It's really like the Porziņģis 1v1 is more like Doku getting isolated against a winger. It's like the ISO play, and then the difference is like in football you have limited possessions, like it's more about control, limited or I should say football is a low-scoring sport. You don't want to take every shot that comes to you. In basketball, as soon as you get that 1v1, you're taking the shot every time. It's just a different sport. And God damn it, I'm pissed, man. I'm sad. I really need Luka and Kyrie to save basketball. I'm praying for miracles. Like, man, I might go sacrifice some kids like Real Madrid do. I'm just kidding. You know, I'm praying for the black magic. I'm praying for the satanic magic, whatever you want to call it, white magic, light magic, God, like Allah, Jesus Christ, whatever y'all got to do, go pray. Let's beat the fucking Guardiola Celtics.
I think between Dirk, who are the Dallas celebrities? Dirk, Mark Cuban. We need to overpower the Wahlbergs and the Peps back home.
They have Brady too, but we have Patrick Mahomes. Actually,
we need Flo. We need Florentino to make the trip. That's what we need.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like we Mahomes is out there, but Brady's on the other side, and like we're outnumbered right now. So we need Flo out there. We need people to show out. Heck, we need LeBron out there. Like LeBron has beaten the Celtics. He's a Kyrie guy. We need everyone. I mean, hey, we need all. They joke that it's the Dallas Laker Mavericks, like, because Boston are going to get their 18th title. It's just they do have an air of inevitability, like we keep saying. I'm just dejected, man. And after game 2, when they make it 1-1, I'm going to come out just as delusional. I'm gonna be calling pet names. I'm gonna call Mazzulla the bald fraud.
I love this. This is the beauty of a 7 games NBA series. It's just like you oscillate between delusion and defeat and heartbreak.
To an extent, we don't even in soccer. Would you say, like, even if you like, it's like 15-minute bursts, but this is like whole games where you get slapped, or like entire quarters where you look like you just don't belong on the basketball
court. No,
court.
I mean, like, it's not uncommon in a Champions League knockout for the second leg to be wildly different from the first leg and the team just flipping the script. But in the NBA, truly, like, I find a 30-point blowout in any game, it doesn't matter. It's game 1, game 2, game 3, really doesn't mean anything. Like, it's a very cliche kind of thing to say. It doesn't matter if you lose by 1 or 30 and L is an L, doesn't matter. And conversely, it doesn't matter if you win by 30 or win by 1. It's a W. Because the next game, it can be wildly different. It's not going to be the same patterns. And that's what I think is so interesting about it. What I love about NBA 7-game series is that it truly is a chess match. You see adjustments from game to game. Then you see counter adjustments at halftime. It's just constantly reshuffling and retooling and reacting to what works and then trying to fix what doesn't work. And it's really fascinating. You don't get that in football. You get it kind of, but not to this extent over this long of a period. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and just to close out here, definitely, and that's where I was a little concerned again that they went, like, usually you wait for teams to deal their hand. Like, they have chess moves they don't use, like cards in their deck they don't play until later in the series, because if you play too early, the other team can adjust. That's where you sometimes see that in football too. I think we do that really well, where we don't play our cards too early, not on purpose all the time, unfortunately. That's where maybe we give ourselves a lot of credit. Sometimes it's just by accident. We don't play any of our cards. We just don't mean to, even though we're trying. But that's where them going small in the second quarter, I was like, God damn, like, couldn't even go like a game or two. Like, you couldn't even wait till the 4th or something. But also just a small bit of hope for fans. Like, obviously I told you LeBron felt out games a lot in Cleveland. Now, some interesting parallels. Jason Kidd, 1 of 6 in game 1s as a Dallas head coach in the playoffs, going back to 2022. 1 and 6, feels out game 1. Their only win was against Minnesota. If you remember the Minnesota game, Kyrie went crazy. They were down 25 first game against OKC and the Clippers at points. Kyrie went crazy and bailed them out against Minnesota, and then they went on to win because they had a better half-court offense, because they got to that 4th quarter where it's close. If they're close in the 4th, they're always going to play you close. But and so that, and then lastly, as a personal anecdote, when LeBron was being coached by Jason Kidd in LA, that was when he had the worst feel-out games ever, man. He was like feeling the fuck out of those games. Like in the first, we lost to Portland in the bubble. Like, that was a garbage Portland team. Dame was like feeling himself when he won game 1. We won that game in series in 5. Round 2, Russell Westbrook and James Harden took a game off us. We beat them in 5. They were talking mad smack. We were laughing on the bench. Won game 1 against Denver and Miami after that, for what it's worth. But those first 2 feel-out games were so bad. And I hope this was a feel-out game. So hopefully it's 1-1 going back to Dallas.
Luka, if you're listening to this, please tell your teammates to step up. We need more from you, Kyrie. We need more collective rebounds. We need better ball movement. We need you guys to finish your open threes. We need to make sure Porziņģis doesn't get switched onto your smaller guys. And get Luka some help, please. And mic up Pep Guardiola, because we need to know what's being said there. It's very important. Sid, I need to sleep, man. I'm going to just literally pass out as soon as we end this call. I don't think I've ever recorded a podcast this late. So enjoy the rest of your day in Mumbai. And we'll reconvene. I guess we'll figure it out off air for game 2.
Yeah. Just I'll talk to you briefly off air for like 10 seconds. But yeah, everyone, catch you guys for game 2. We're going to have someone from The Athletic on next week to talk about the series too. Very excited for that.
Bang. Awesome stuff.
Can't believe he's down. I'm really grateful, but yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this NBA segment, and we'll catch you soon. Peace out.